let's explore mentoring for small business owners. Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders who make life better, our many clients and friends. I'm Pramod Sharma, the actuary at the Taxevity Insurance Advisory, and when I'm not doing interviews, I'm helping people use insurance to transfer their financial risks. Our guest today is Lisette Andreyko. Welcome, Lisette.
Hi, Pramod. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us. What do you do when you're not being interviewed?
Haha, that's a very good one. Well, of course I do mentoring, but besides that, I do a lot of traveling. At the moment, not so much, but that's definitely something that I just absolutely love doing. And of course, I love cooking. Cooking from, with recipes from different parts of the world, making it all up from scratch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the cooking or the traveling today, unfortunately, but we are talking about mentoring, which is a very important topic. To get started, what is a mentor?
That's a very good question. A mentor has different roles. So the first thing that you want to kind of understand is the three different elements within mentoring.
Okay.
So you kind of have like the motivator part within mentoring because you want to support the person that you're mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
The second element is coaching, is understanding what are the skill gaps that you may have and that you need to look at.
Okay.
And the third part is the personal development that happens when you are starting up your own business. So that all part of it, that is mentoring.
Okay. And how does I get confused over these two different words. How does a mentor differ from a coach? It sounded like in your definition, coaching is part of mentoring?
It's part of mentoring in that way that you're recognizing what is the training that somebody may need to move forward. But it's more like mentoring is more on the sideline. You're just it's sort of like holding hands with somebody, right?
Okay.
And saying, let's move forward together. So it's more of a longer period of time than coaching usually is.
Oh, would it be fair to say that coaching is more for a specific skill?
Yes, generally it is. I wouldn't say for everybody, but generally it is.
Okay, so if I need to learn how to write better, I'm more likely to go to a coach than a mentor.
Exactly, you would choose a writing coach, or if you need sales, then you go to a sales coach.
Okay, who needs mentors and why do they need mentors?
Everybody needs a mentor.
Everybody?
No, I wouldn't say that strongly, but I think everybody can benefit if they're open to it. They can benefit from mentoring. Because basically what you're doing is you're sharing experiences that a person already has had. So you're saying, you know what, I've been in a similar situation. Here's something that worked for me. It may help you. And if it doesn't, then maybe you get certain questions out of it. You say, oh, this triggered something in my mind. Now I know what I need to look for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like how it works. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of back and forth.
Yes, I'm a big believer in mentoring. I've had mentors in the past and I've done mentoring, etc. And you're right that all of us can benefit if we're willing to give it a try.
Absolutely, because why would you want to make the same mistakes that everybody else has already made? And sometimes, it helps to actually make the mistake because entrepreneurs, most of us learn by being very experiential.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps making a mistake once in a while. But it's like, and I think you made that analogy earlier about being a parent. You want to, warn the child like, that's a hot plate, don't touch it. But sometimes they don't learn until they have actually touched it and it got burned. So it's depending on the kind of personality that you have and the kind of person that is mentoring you.
Mm-hmm. Are there different types of mentors?
Absolutely. The two that I would like to highlight here is that you have what I call a workplace mentor and then there's a business mentor.
Okay.
So a workplace mentor is somebody who can be a manager or anybody else who's involved at your work, who's been there for a longer period of time, understands the culture at the work, understands maybe better the strategic planning because maybe you're not part of that group that talks about the strategic plan, right? So you kind of like see where does my role fit in within the larger organization and what we're trying to achieve. How do I learn more managerial skills, for example? So getting that kind of feedback works really well in a workplace.
Right.
For businesses, it works really well. Like I said, you don't want to make the same mistakes all the time. You know that you need to go for a certain growth, so how can you get there?
Okay.
That is what a mentor does.
Now, what if I don't think I'll make the same mistake that everyone else has? Does that mean I'm not a good mentee, or is that an issue that you find other people have too?
think it depends on it. I think a lot of people that are looking actively for mentors are the ones that are feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed.
Okay.
Can be overwhelmed in terms of the kind of information that they're looking for, whether that is through the internet or people that are kind enough to give them a lot of information. And you're sort of like sitting there like, how am I going to distill this to something actually useful to me?
Okay.
Right? So there's a little bit of that part in it. But I wouldn't say like they don't make good mentors if they're not actively looking for it. It's just may not realize that mentoring is an option.
Okay. Is one mentor enough?
Can be, cannot be. Again, like it
Okay.
kind of, I'm sorry that I don't have very definitive answers, but it really depends on the character of the person. Now, I would say always choose to have a few, because you can be mentored in different parts of your life, in different parts of your business. But the first thing that you really need to think about when you want to have a mentor is, where's the trust? Who do I respect? Who has that kind of experience? So if you know that one of your strengths, for example, is relationship building,
Right.
but you're not very good at sales because you're very, you're very self-aware, then what do? Then you can have somebody that helps you. How do I do prospecting? How do I move the conversation further along so that we actually get to talk about the sales?
Right.
But that person, that mentor that helps you around sales may not be the right person to say, how do you grow a business? What kind of systems do you need to have in place? So maybe there it's like, my father has been an entrepreneur. He's been able to give me really good tips. And some of them that you think, perhaps slightly outdated, but the same idea still counts, whether you started a business in 1980s or you start a business nowadays in 2014-15.
That makes a lot of sense. How does someone choose a mentor?
Oh, this is so important. Thank you for asking that. How do you choose a mentor? The basic thing is it somebody that has the experience that you are looking for? Is it a person that you respect, that you feel comfortable with so that you can open up? Because if you're uncomfortable and you don't really want to share that much, a person can't mentor you, because it's a back and forth. It's a very open relationship. So what am I getting to? It's trust. You have to be able to build that trust. And sometimes actually it takes a few mentoring sessions or just a few meetings to get to that point.
You've got the mentor and you've got the mentee. How does the mentor decide whether a mentee is worth their time?
Oh, yes. Well, it depends on, are they looking for the kind of experience that the mentor has to offer? We just spoke about that. But also, where are they at what stage? Is it something that you have experience in? So I specialize, for example, working with startups or people aspiring to become an entrepreneur. So that's, for me, is very important. However, I do mentoring with people that they have more a stable cash flow, and they know that after 2-3 years in, they need to start growing. But how do you scale things up? Because that is something that I had to do in the past as an entrepreneur when I was still in the workplace. So that is something that I feel compelled to do as well. So to me, that makes sense to put that together. So that's how you can choose your mentee, is like, what is the experience that I have? Where can I give back? What can I share? As well as like, I work with a lot of immigrants because Canada is the 4th country I'm living in.
Okay.
So I understand the challenges that people are having by coming here, by having to speak a different language, understanding what is culturally okay and not so okay. How do you build up the relationships? And I keep coming back to relationships because it's so central when you have a business. If you cannot build relationships, you can't run a business because you can't be isolated. And it's the same thing as with a mentor. You can't isolate yourself because if you're in a shell, how can you be mentored? Right?
Yes. And how often should someone meet their mentor?
Again, it depends on it.
I need black and white answers. I'm an actuary. I don't have shades of gray.
Well, that is life, though. It depends on it. At moments where you're going through a lot of stress as an entrepreneur, for example, because you are scaling up or you're launching a new product, that's where you want to increase the mentoring that you're receiving at that point. Because everything needs to go very quickly. You can't just say, oh, well, at some point I'll do a product launch. You can't run a business that way, right? You have a timeline. So that's when it increases. It may decrease at a point where you're saying, I'm getting more comfortable right now. I don't need to check that many decisions with me again, because that's one of the benefits of mentoring, is that you help them with making particular decisions. And there's a simple decision making tool that we share as mentors.
Do you think there's a minimum frequency, say quarterly or monthly?
Yeah, I would definitely say monthly at the very, very least. If you want to make sure that the relationship has the up-to-date information, so to speak, and just to make sure that you keep that trust relationship open. Now, it doesn't always have to be a meeting in person or on the phone. You can just shoot an email to one another and say, okay, I'm kind of stuck here.
Right.
Do you have some feedback on me? I've had people sometimes, giving me an email and say, I've been working on this proposal, or I've got this request from a client and I actually want to deny it. I don't want to go through with this. So how do I say no to a client? How do I do that appropriately? So I worked with them on the email, through email.
Right. Okay. So there are different mechanisms that can be used there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, is it possible to outgrow a mentor?
No. There's your definitive answer. I would say no, because you may come at the same point as that mentor, but since you are a different person, you'll never be exactly the same, because you're uniquely a different personality, right? But you may need a different mentor at that stage, because you're never done with learning, right? And I hope you're never done with learning. And I wish to give that to everybody that I come in touch with, because as soon as you start saying, oh, I know enough about the world and I know enough about my business, you hamper yourself, you stop yourself.
Okay, I agree that the mentoring process needs to continue basically forever. I found in my own experience that sometimes I feel I've outgrown a particular mentor because we're getting diminishing returns. I basically, sometimes you can figure out in your head what that person will tell you. And then you don't really need to ask them, and then maybe that's an opportunity to get someone else in their place.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. It's true. And that's part of like getting to know the mentor very well, getting to know the kind of information that person would share with you. But it also means that the mentor can't give you anything extra anymore. So as soon as sort of like the value is at a same level where you can come to the same conclusions already, whether you agree with the conclusion or not, still your own decision. That's when you can say, okay, maybe I need another mentor, or maybe I'm just good for right now.
Right. You are a mentor yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for your clients?
Oh, it's such a variety of things. Like I was saying, it has a lot to do with the decision making, helping them to understand more of like, you can't see a decision as a very isolated thing. It's part of a whole context. So that's what I'm trying to show to people. Where is the context? Let's see from different angles how we can come to a good conclusion so that you can make the decision that you need to make, whether it's a positive or a negative one, right? So that's something that I definitely do, as well as like literally like, how do you set up a business? It's very practical questions.
Okay.
And I love that about mentoring. Mentoring can be very theoretical, but once it's applied, that's where the use comes in, right? So you want to make sure that people are asking very concrete questions. This is where I'm stuck with today. I want to start blogging. I have no idea. What should I blog about? How should I structure a blog? Does it even make sense for my target market? Those kind of questions.
Okay. And what's your key message for our viewers today?
Try to get your own kitchen cabinet of advisors. Whether you call them mentors, whether you call them peer learners, doesn't really matter. But try to have a group of people that you respect, whether they are family members, community leaders, friends, or peers that you really enjoy working with. And ask them, like, can I once in a while just buy you a cup of coffee and we'll have a little chat about something, and get different perspectives that way.
That makes a lot of sense. I fully agree with that. I've done some similar things in the past, and it's been very beneficial. What's the best way for people to reach you?
They can reach me just by going to my website, kaleidoscopic.ca.
Okay, and we'll show the web address on the screen.
Oh, perfect. And that, of course, with that comes my email address, lisette@kaleidoscopic.ca, or they can just give me a call at 416-569-5460.
Thanks for dropping by.
Absolutely, thanks.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?